The other projection.
Moro, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think that's point of correction. Issah, we bequeath you with a growth rate of 5.7, not 5.3. So go and check your records very
You mean
well.
debt to GDP?
Absolutely.
Not debt to GDP. He's talking about growth.
No, we are talking about growth. I was talking
Economic
about debt to
growth.
GDP.
Borrowing. They started borrowing right from after this government came to office. On the 10th of January, through treasury bills, domestic borrowing, they borrowed 8.07 billion, 17th January 2025, 8.83 billion, January 2024, 8.16 billion, 31st January, 7.99 billion, February 7, 7.60, on and on and on, to a total of 59.68 billion. This was borrowed. But you see, borrowing per se, and when you look at these, there were three key things that they are using this borrowing. One, to pay salaries. Two, to finance budget operations. And three, the rollover debts. Borrowing per se is not bad, but what do you use the borrowing for?
Is what is
I
more
remember
important.
when they were in opposition, they were saying that we borrowed to pay compensation and consumption. You recall a few weeks ago, Atu was addressing
Labor.
Was it labor?
Yeah, it was labor.
When they said they
Yes.
have to go and borrow 17 billion cedis to
Yes.
pay government compensation.
Yes.
I thought they said the economy was strong.
Oh.
The economy was doing well. If the
But
economy was doing,
that issue should be put in this
can I
proper context.
finish, please?
Let you
When we were
finish.
talking, can I finish?
I was
When you
not
tell
sure.
us your economy is booming, it's doing so well, where from that? I keep telling you that this, the theory of the NEC is practicing the economy. I don't get the head and tail of it. I don't get it at all. As we speak now, my brother, we are told that according to the statistical service, the inflation has dwindled to 3.2. Am I right?
Yeah.
Good. The CD and dollar has been stabilized. Am I right?
Yeah.
And we must sing some reflections in the lives of the people. President Mama on the campaign platform made reference to one of the American presidents or something. When they were talking about other things, then he said, talk about the economy stupid.
Oh.
You remember what that statement he made?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to draw the president's attention to this very statement. When you tell us the inflation is dwindled, CD dollar stabilized, it must reflect in our pockets. Maybe he's sitting here, you see, he doesn't pay utility tariffs.
I'm not Yusuf though.
I'm sorry, sir.
No problem.
Forgive me.
Yes.
Maybe he's been getting some money somewhere that the utility bills that he's paying, he doesn't feel it in his pocket.
It's by
The
James
tariffs that we are
Carville.
paying
James Carville was one
is
who
not
said that.
reflected in the salaries that they are paying public sector workers. It's so expensive. Okay, that is key. Number two, you talk about releases. When the minority were doing the debates on the what they call it, the budget, when you look at the projected and the releases that the finance minister was supposed to release to these agencies and ministries, it fell below 50% because he doesn't want to spend. He's holding on to expenditure to control inflation. When you do that, it affects the ground. Number two, they cut off the heads of cocoa farmers. When we assumed office on the 7th of January, the price of cocoa per ton was hovering between 1,200 to 1,300 per ton. We never reduced their cocoa prices. We never did. But what did you do? Today, cocoa farmers are crying because you have reduced their income for every bag of cocoa, almost 1,000 Ghana cedis. And you said what? We should clap for you. As we speak now, I have nephews and nieces in Achimota school. They are paying PTA dues, 1,000 Ghana cedis, 500 Ghana cedis for feeding.
They're not supposed to pay.
They are paying. I have nephew who is there.
Oh.
The mother told me, 1,000 Ghana cedis in Achimota school, 500 cedis. These Easter holidays that they came, when they were going, they paid 500 Ghana cedis. And the average student in Achimota is over 3,000, 4,000. So what are we talking about? Again, look at the traders. The social media is so active today. I'm happy you are from the north. Look at how they are crying. Farmers have spent money, labor, pesticides to plant. God willing, they have good harvest. Today, a bag of maize has been dwindled from 1,000, 1,200 to almost 350 Ghana, yet they cannot buy. You go to Salaga market, you go to Techima market, you go to Gra market, everybody is crying. Whether it is a curse on us, I can't tell. It is a serious matter that we need to talk about it. So long as you are not spending, because it will trigger and go to the base. I've been posting you some of these what do you call it? Commentaries that these market will huge sums of yam loaded all over the place. They are not buying. Where are they getting the money for? Because you have squeezed all the money from the system. Because you want to control inflation, to make your books look good. But when you go to the ground, my brother, Issah, maybe you live in Mars. So you are not on the ground. Your constituency.
I thought you said I'm from the north.
You live in Mars. So you don't know what you're talking about. Oh. So these are your economic indicators. That
he's an MP. He lives with the people. He knows.
Please, he's in Mars. And sometimes he comes down to Sandalugu and go up again. So he doesn't get the reality. His people are watching him. My brother, his people are watching him. So this matter that we talk about, these inflation indicators is improve. You see, when you're in power, some of these things, when they talk, you don't want to listen. But the reality will hit you on the face. It will expose you. You get what I mean? So clearly, something is not going well. I describe this as aphrodisiac economy. Because indeed, if this is really happening, we will not be getting all these feedbacks that the people go to use AI to generate what? Duty at the port. When did this start? In our time, they were not paying so much expensive duties at the port. Importers are crying. Customs agents are crying. And you sit here and you say, what? Please, I don't get it. So for them, we leave that for the people to judge us. But the cost of living as we speak now. When the bomb, I heard the president was saying that what? When we're saying that Russia-Ukraine war was affecting global supply chain, the president, but the kilometers from here to Ukraine was about 5,000 kilometers, and what has that got to do with us? And at the point when the prices was reducing, they say, hey, abampapaba. Now that it has changed, from here to Iran is about 9,000 kilometers. Now the president said, we should do what? We shouldn't blame him. Who blame him? Because you set the pace. We don't want to be part of that narrative that is not from him, but exogenous. Not at all. Because so long as we don't have any hand, we are going to remind him, okay, of what is happening. For this, your economy, dear.
You've shifted your position.
Moro.
My position, what?
The fact that external factors can have an impact.
No, when we were telling them the truth, they didn't buy it.
So why don't you stay in that same?
So what I'm saying is that we need to let Ghanaians know that when you scam, you use deceit to come to power, you'll be exposed. So that's what I'm telling you.
But have you shifted your position?
We have not.
Oh, okay.
We have not.
Moro.
All right.
We have
Moro.
not.
All right.
Please.
So yes, no cash syndrome.
No.
When you go, I'll come.
No. Oh.
When you
But
go,
to be fair,
I'll come.
No, you can come.
Yeah,
You can come. You can
Yeah, you
come.
can
So
come. Why
when
not?
you rebut, I'll rebut.
No, that's fine.
So
Yeah, no,
one
to be fair,
See,
yes.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
MPP communication team. But let me ask you, are you still contesting for the national organization?
I'm coming back.
Oh, okay.
Why you have a problem with it?
No. MPP
Maybe he wants to support you.
MPP communicators. If you don't find a way of tying them to topics, they run around everywhere. My senior brother has succeeded
how do you mean?
in boxing everything
How do you
outside
mean?
the scope.
What is go?
He was talking about the
yeah.
economy. He was talking about
Look,
the economy.
Please. In my submission, I already told you, what you read about domestic borrowing of 53 billion, you are only proving what I said. I said that what the government has done successfully is that we are doing what we call debt swaps or buybacks. So what have you said essentially? That's what I was telling you. We are not doing debt accumulation, but we are doing debt buybacks or swaps. So it doesn't increase the net accumulation of the Ghana's public debt. And when it comes to debt, MPP should be the least to talk about it. Saying we borrow 17 billion to pay salaries. Look, Moro, from Nkrumah to President Mahama's first term, Ghana have had 13 presidents. The combined impact of all of them, their borrowing, amounted to 120 billion Ghana cedis. Only President Akufo-Addo moved it to 726.7 billion after domestic restructuring. Inclusive of the restructuring, we would have been doing 836 billion Ghana cedis. Only President Akufo-Addo. This is the highest. In fact, President Akufo-Addo borrowing at a point led Ghana for the first time in our history, even under the military regime, we never had it, a debt to GDP ratio of 104%. You people, as if you've been out of power for some 10 years. It is still fresh in our minds what you led this country through. Despite all this borrowing President Akufo-Addo did, despite all those things, they left us with a sinking fund of 0 and mortgaged all state agencies' inflows to borrow more. In fact, for the smart fiscal regimes that Dr. Tufosi introduced, Get Fund, NHIA, ESLA, and Kokobo process would have all been to foreign companies. Government had to absorb it as part of central government debt. In fact, that is what led to the 45 billion debt increase in our public debt. Because we had to buy back those debts. This is the type of people that are now saying NDC borrowed domestically 53 billion Ghana cedis. Abba. You led us astray. In 8 years, you borrowed more than 13 presidents combined 6 times. You see, reminding Ghanaians of this sometimes is nostalgic. But the truth of the matter is that we have to call them out. The second issue is borrowing to pay salary, 17 billion. Look, even the 726.7 billion after restructuring, the total tax revenue that we were using to pay compensation was around 72%. If you collect all your total tax revenue in Ghana, you use 72% to pay salaries. That was the situation you kept us in. So MPP should be the last to talk about how to, whether borrowing or, look, you over-borrowed. Why did you run to the IMF? In 2015, you said the NDC ran to the IMF because of what we call policy credibility, if you remember. Not because we could not meet our needs. At that time, we could not get loans at concessionary rates. Government approached the IMF through the Century Consensus. We advised you in 2022 to go for IMF because we realized that you were performing badly. You took exchange rate from 4 cedis to 17 cedis. We told you go to the IMF. Inflation rate at that time was about 54%. Ghanaians could buy goods this morning and go back to the market in the afternoon. It has changed. You said no. The Aquabomb was e-levy. You went around this country with taxpayers' money to do town hall meetings explaining why the e-levy is the way forward. We advise you that it's a float concept. IMF money is float. You don't tax flows. Because one money can be in Moro's account, he will transfer to me, I'll transfer to my brother, I'll transfer to that same money. Does not mean all the 4 of us has the money. It's one money floating all around. We said that is not a smart way of taxing. Number 2, we said that what services have we provided to tax that money? The communication companies tax us the 1% commission because they provide the platform.
That's a communication service tax.
So what do you provide? Meanwhile, at the end of the year, you charge them 25% corporate tax. So we said that's tax on tax. They didn't listen. The Aquamom didn't survive. They now approached the IMF at the time that Ghana was at its vulnerable stage. That is the legacy of the MPP. When Dr. Tufosi said he borrowed 17 billion to pay salaries, if you know governance structure, government has 4 ticket items: compensation, goods and services, capex, and then your statutory disbursement, and then you have your discretionary expenditure. When you allocate the resources, depending upon which one you prioritize, there will always be a deficit. So if he had mentioned salaries first, mentioned statutory items, it means that he would have said we borrow 17 billion to maybe do goods and services. It's just the arrangement. He was just trying to demonstrate why our local revenue that we are raising cannot meet these 4 ticket items. It was just itemization. So because he used compensation, he could have said, If you take compensation, if you take statutory payment, if you take goods and services, capex, we have to borrow money to do it. You would have still come here and said capex. So it doesn't mean that we borrow 17 billion to pay compensation. That's not the meaning. If you have followed him. The third issue is releases. That's the question. As a member of the Finance Committee, we met ministry, department, and agencies that appear before us. I can tell you, Dr. Atuforsen has released close to 82% releases in 2025. 82%. As for minorities say they are not releasing, we will not release the way you used to release. Meaning that anything the ministry, department, agencies bring to you, you approve and find money to. That's not the style that we are running. What is the concept of the commitment authorization? We are saying that for you to do any expenditure, commit the state, bear in mind that there's a line item meant for that expenditure. So people are not comfortable with that system because they want some level of arbitrariness and discretion on the part of the ministry, department, and agencies. That is a thing of the past. You cannot commit this state into reckless expenditure and you want taxpayers to fund it. And let me give you an example. During the special audit that was done by the Ministry of Finance and Deloitte and Auditor General, I don't know, Moro, if you followed it. Yeah. We have seen that some IPCs were raised and sent to Ministry of Finance without even Ministry of Roads and Highways knowing, if you had followed the discussion over there. Right. These are type of reckless expenditures that we said, no. For you to commit this state into any contractual obligation, make sure that you approach the Ministry of Finance, which is the custodian of Ghana's public purse, to make sure that it has a specific budget line for it. People will not be comfortable. That's change management. So, point to us one thing that we said we will spend. And let me give you the shocking thing. Government allocated 13 billion Ghana cedis for big push. Minority came and said, as at the time they were doing the press conference, government has only released 7 billion. When in that same document, that expenditure, government was saying that it's a multi-year expenditure. So when you are capturing, you don't capture the total amount of money you allocated for that project. You capture what is utilized within a year. This is just normal accounting. So what exactly are they saying government is not releasing money for? The last one. That's what I'm saying, that he has found a way of boxing in everything. Cocoa farmers. Moro, let's ask our senior brother. The time you were paying cocoa farmers $3,200, Ghana said, well, how much was cocoa sold in the international market? How much was it sold? Over 10,000. So to the cocoa farmer this morning watching me, if somebody sold your cocoa beans to investors for 10,000 Ghana cedis and in return give you 3,000, what is the percentage? 30%. And now somebody is selling it for 2,850 and giving you 2,587. That over 90% given to the cocoa farmer. And you are here saying that your time you were paying 3,000. Forgetting to mention that you were selling it for 10,000. Why were you giving them 3,000? That is the hypocrisy we are talking about. And to this, because they want to exploit the sensitivity of people, they move around cocoa farms peddling falsehoods, saying that President Mahama has used the cocoa money to buy 4 private jets for his brother and himself. That is the level of politics that they are now engaged in. And I'm saying this, you cannot subject Cocoa Board. In fact, Moro, it will shock you. Right. In 2023, the board of Cocoa Board approved 489 million Ghana cedis for cocoa rules. Approved. If you know how public sector works, departments and agencies that are governed by governing councils and boards, the highest decision-making body of those are the boards. Board of Cocoa Board approved 489 million Ghana cedis for road improvement programs under cocoa rules. They exceeded the year without any revision to their budget to 4 billion Ghana cedis. Cocoa rules, that was a special audit. The last time I came here, I brought the special audit that was done by the Attorney General. That stated that the cocoa rules was a syndicate for corruption. Is that the level of economy that you want us to do? You made Cocoa Board became bankrupt. Cocoa Board, you sign onto a contract where you are saying that you collect the money from people with the funds, irrespective of how much cocoa is traded at the international market, you sell it to them at $2,661. That is what you did. When at the time we said, if we're in government without this contract, cocoa farmers would have been getting close to 6,000 to 7,000. It was based on the fact that cocoa prices at the international market was high. So don't compare this. Don't try to take on the minds of people to exploit the sensitivity of people because cocoa prices were slashed. Check the African average in our sub-region, whether they have done same or not. You cannot give what you don't have. You had mortgaged close to 53,000 tons of our cocoa to foreigners at 2,661 in your rollover contracts. And you have the audacity now to say that President Mahama reduced cocoa prices. Moro, let me ask you, we are all brothers from the north. He is also a northerner.
Okay.
Let me tell my senior. Let's do this at every time. You have two household actors. You have the farmers, and then you have the consumers. More is that not it?
Yep.
If bags of rice, for example, is sold at 200 Ghana cedis, it will directly affect the farmer.
Right.
What about the consumer? Why are you doing your analysis one-sided? Consumers are now buying bags of maize and rice at cheaper prices. Who do we defend at this stage? Is it the consumer or the farmer? You thought when you were selling it at 800 Ghana cedis, people could buy. According to the Ghana Statistical Survey multi-poverty dimension report that came in October 2024, you had pushed 12 million Ghanaians into multi-poverty dimension, meaning they could not afford 3 square meals and they could not afford basic needs of life. So are you telling me that we should have maintained 800 Ghana cedis as bag of rice when the average Ghanaian cannot afford a bag of rice? Is that the logic we should get? So I'm saying that this type of to exploit farmers, what you are forgetting is that people who are purchasing bags of maize for 200 or 300 Ghana cedis are mad at you because your time. I remember people you don't expect as an MP, people you don't expect to come and tell you that today they haven't eaten. They used to come to us as parliamentary candidates. Today, Moro, if you have 1,000 Ghana cedis as a landlord, do you know you can buy 5 bags of maize?
Right.
Some people who need 5 bags of maize for months. That same amount could have bought 1. But today you could buy 5. So yes, government is addressing the issue on the farmers.